Hello and welcome to another episode of From Dungeons to Starships. Can I start by this episode by saying thank you? And thank you for the last video and the one where we started this journey into the kitbashing stroke Dogs of War project that we were going to go on with these few episodes. The amount of positive feedback I've received and the way you guys have responded in such a positive way, it's a little real fire under me to carry on with this type of video going forwards. And we'll have a look about a little way when you can help the decisions that we're going to make in the future when we come and have a look at after the topic we spoke about today. There have been amongst them a few comments that have stated the video gave people inspiration to take up on some of the ideas that we've used and take it forwards for their own forces and their own benefits. As a somewhat small creator, to get that kind of feedback is the best thing I could hope for. So a real thank you goes out to those guys. And I hope they make sure that they share their stuff because that inspiration always goes both ways. Right, so it's down to business. In this episode, we're going to look at rounding out that 500.4A army for the TSA Arena and the event we have attended since the last video. And I'll talk about the event a little bit towards the end. We started last time with our core unit choices of spearmen and crossbows, but in this episode, we're going to look at one or more of the character models and the more elite unit choices that will hope become key strengths for the army for the games. Now, we have already talked about the leader of the army, or already shown it off. So the character we're going to do is going to be a supporting character to the main general. So let's go down to the Dogs of War book and let's see who or what we can find. Now, in the many pictures of the armies, when you look at them, there's always a lady on horseback, Lucretia Belladonna, talked about in her bio about being the most beautiful lady in the Empire. She's a wizard, but I don't think at a 500-point army, taking a wizard may be a good choice. Because I think probably we would have less to deal with in terms of magic on a day in 500-point armies. But reading a bio on the Warhammer wiki page, we find out she's got a sister, Dolchalata. So it's her we're going to build for our army. So we want her to join across with our mounted unit. So the first thing we're going to do is give her a mount. I always try and tend to start with a mount when I'm doing these kind of figures, as I think it's right that you try and build your model off the mount itself. Because a lot of times you can put it together, and then when you actually mount it on the figure, it looks janky or awkward. So we're going to start with the Empire General's kit and Nick, the well-tacked and well-shod horse. Now with this, there's not going to be any major adjustments done to the actual horse itself. The only thing I didn't like is the crest on the head. I thought it was just a bit too busy. So I decided to change it up. Now what I used was one of the crests pieces from the Cities of Sigmar's command set. I'd already used this crest on the helmet of my hero character. So to have it combining between the two characters in my force was one of those little things that, like, you know, maybe people wouldn't notice, but I wouldn't know it's there, and it gives you a little bit of, I suppose, like an Easter egg in with the force. Off the horse, then, the legs are the first point to consider. Now, I have a number of riders' legs, but looking at them, they all seemed a bit too bulky and a bit too cumbersome and didn't really give that feminine feel that I wanted. Luckily though, I've got previous editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, this one being 4th edition, I believe, the box set. And luckily this held within it some old Bretonian knights. And those Bretonian Knights' legs and body have not suffered from the scale creep and fitted brilliantly to the idea I had for the top half. Now, when I did the body itself, the torso didn't really fit the idea that I had, as I wanted to go another way with the figure itself. So basically, we've dissected the figure. So we're using the legs from this original Bretonian model, and then when we put it back on, it just fitted, and I was well happy with the way that we've gone with the legs for the model itself. Now, with the torso and the arms, I spotted something amongst one of the kits that we were using rather heavily last time. And because I wanted to go for a female character, I wanted to try and use a model that sold that's, true feminine armour, feminine style. Now, within the Blood Bowl set that we've been using, the Imperial Nobles Blood Bowl set, there's a couple of female linemen in the kit. So that kit and that torso, along with some of the bits and some of the bits of the arms, gives a really synthetic render of female armour, and it's going to be nice to use on our character model. Now, one of the things I was going to add was a cape flowing down onto the horse from the shoulders. But when I was fitting the torso to the legs, a distinct gap was evident at the waist, pretty much towards the back, where the smaller the back was to originally meet the model. Now, if you followed any of my builds, you know that I'm always up for hiding things and make as much as I can as easy as possible. So I'm working a little smarter than harder. So the plan was changed, and instead the cape became a more well-defined surcoat skirt to the miniature, which I think, because I'm dealing with a female model, really sets it aside and looks really good on the model itself. So it's going to go down as one of those Bob Ross happy little accident column occurrences for this build. So next was on to the weapon. So as a hero, I want to give us something epic looking, and again, taking from the Empire kit, the General's kit, we can source this awesome looking sword that we can attach to the model itself, which will help with recognition on the table, but also we'll be able to assign maybe some kind of magic ability to the weapon itself and have it telling us a bit more what you see is what you get. But the final crowning piece on this character build, and the bit that's really going to sell it, is going to be the head swap that we're going to do. It's always the part I leave to last, and I'll reiterate that all the way through, because I like to get the substantial look of the body into the right place, and then often I can position the head and tilt and twist or whatever. But there was a number of options for me to go with this kit. Obviously, there was the head from the Blood Bowl kit itself, etc., etc. But I wanted to give her a bit more of a sense of a higher royalty and not flowing hair type finish. So I wanted to find something with a bit more of a refined hairstyle. Luckily, Anvil Industries had me covered, and they do a great set of these Regency stroke Gothic hairstyles, which will allow me to complete this, what I'm going to call my Battle Bouffant look that I'm going for. This head, to me, just finishes off the model completely, and once it gets, first off, its initial coat of primer to pull everything together for that initial look over the model to make sure we're happy, and then finally ready for the paint. So our character is finished, but what about the unit she's going to be joining in with? What about the force she's going to be running with on the day? Well, the unit is again to follow on our trade for what we want to do with this build, represent one of the units from the Dogs of War source book, and also be quite heavily kitbashed or converted. Now, looking in the book itself, there's not really many cavalry options that I could fit at this point into the armour. But the one we're going to go for is Volan's Venators. Again, it's like a ragtag unit of reasonably armed cavalry. And so to give my rendition, I'm going to mainly use Pistolaire's Old World kit for the horses, because I think the Knight kit was a bit too heavy on the armour, for not only for the horses, but also for the knights themselves. So this is going to be the horses, the legs, and the upper torsos are all going to come from the Pistolaire's kit. From that, I'm going to combine them with shields from the Cities of Sigmar kits, and then going back to the box for the Bretonnian legs, I've got a number of the old school lances that are in that box as well. So 5 of them for our guys is going to round out that the troop is going to look similar, but not the same. And then just finally, with the description of the Venators, talked about them being, not wearing helmets and having rough hair, etc., etc. The heads have been gotten from here, there, and everywhere. Anvil, put-offs from Citadel sprues, etc., etc. And we hope the choice of heads within this small group has done so much to ready the unit to stampede along with our character model on the table. So with our army then put together, packed up, me and my partner headed to Nottingham for a long weekend, which was part of my 50th birthday celebrations these last couple of weeks. And on the long weekend, on the Saturday was the games day. Now, the TSN Arena is no real walking distance from the centre of Nottingham, and pretty much on the main ring road that surrounds the city. So it's well easy to get to if you're travelling into Nottingham by not car. But if you are coming by car, there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of parking being just on the outskirts of the city centre. We arrived in reasonable time and were greatly warmed by a well-needed cup of tea made for us by Rob, our host for the event. And basically this set out the way Rob runs his event, seeming casual, but always on hand to address any issue if there was, just a case of enough drink, another cup of tea. And to join in with the banter as he checks how everyone's gaming is getting along. Now, I'm a previous TO myself from other systems, test of violent bolt action, etc., etc. And I've often realised that a good TO won't really be needed on the day of the competition, apart from doing various administration bits and pieces. Especially if they're a well-experienced and understanding TO, that they know that the people are there to play games with other people, and that's pretty much something you should never really get in the way with. And Rob hits that down to a T. So this was the first 4A event I'd taken part of, been at 500 points. But a lot of the attendees had come to it, and seemed that everyone had bought into the concept. And the armies on Soap was just such a wide variety that you would be lucky to game against the same army more than once on the day. And for me, which again, relatively a new player to this system, who's still realistically in the learning phase, experiencing as much as possible against as many other armies and as many other opponents as possible was brilliant. I do use the term opponent there, but I think that might be the wrong word for this type of event and the crowd that was up there, because there wasn't really any sense of feeling of competition during the day. Everyone was happy to impart knowledge, offer suggestions, and when one of the guys I was playing with is England coach, it's great to get a few free tutoring session. So thanks to Ed from the Close Order YouTube channel. Again, well, I'll put links in below. But there are other guys, and I have to say thanks to Andy from Andy2D6. You can actually watch his play-by-play on the game we played, being the second one of the day. So if you want to see where I went massively wrong, we won't talk about my dice failing me completely. And then Anthony and Jack, all of them were top guys, all of them great people to game along with. And I can say that because every game I felt myself learning more, and every game I felt myself becoming slightly better player and started the understanding and maybe old things from previous editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle that I used to play started to be remembered, and little clicks and little ways in which to use an army came more to the fore. Now, I know people will be asking, well, as soon as we put all this effort in, where did we finish? Where did we come? So I'm only going to say that realistically, over the 4 games, I was there to learn, and I learned a lot. But finished for a first event, and the first event of a system that I've only played casually beforehand, quite reasonable within the overall listing. But that wasn't the icing on the cake for me for the day. During the lunchtime, all the armies of the day were placed out, and everyone that attended had the ability to cast a vote of which they thought was best in terms of modelling, painting, etc., etc. Modelling, painting is one of the parts of the hobbies that are part of the hobby that I really, find my enjoyment from. So I'm always more interested in little awards for that than I am with finishing first, second, or third, or whatever. So to be voted into second place, so runner-up, behind a gorgeous Orc and Goblin Force, well, that just made me so happy, and it just, gave me that warm, fuzzy feeling of, the stuff that I put into this army was something I could celebrate, and I did with a pint in a few bars on the way back to the hotel after the event. So, what are the outcomes for these couple of videos that we've done so far? Well, I'm going to take 4, and let's see if you agree with me. Number 1, doing all the hobby is one thing, but it's better to go and show off and play games with your creations, because otherwise you just become a bit of a hoarder. 2, smaller points games can be just as fun as bigger games, and they allow you to try a lot more than having to get a big army to play. But we see a lot of games now that are skirmish style games, so these fall in to what's happened now with the new Arcane Journal about the battle march format, the lower points format, fewer models on the table, gets you to try more games and maybe be a bit more flamboyant with the forces that you're putting out on the table. Number 3, go to the TSN arena. You won't be disappointed, and I'm sure Rob will make you very welcome. He does. If you check out the website, there's a lot of events, a lot of different systems, so hopefully there'll be something that you come across that you'll enjoy. Finally, it's your hobby. If you want to create something, or you want to proxy something, push boundaries, then go for it. You're not wrong. The only thing you'll come across is that maybe some events won't allow you to use those models because they're not official models of the company. But you know what? Events like that tend to bring out the more competitive side. So if that's not something you're into, then probably steering away and going to other more independent events is going to be better for you. So thanks for watching. The usual like and subscribe plea you get on every channel goes out about now, and I hope you do, but if you don't, then fair play. But I'm going to ask you a question, and hopefully the question you'll be able to answer in the comment sections below. Now, I created the idea for doing this Dogs of War army based on the standard Empire list. But now with the Arcane Journal, we had release of the Renegade Crown's army list, and you can see plenty of other people covering the book and covering that armor. So I think we've got a little bit more leeway to fully create a Dogs of War army and get it themed and sorted. So what do you guys want to see? Do you guys want to see me carrying on with some of these bespoke units going forwards for the next few videos? Would you like me to take a break, feature something else, and then come back to these in the future? Or do you just want me to get on and start having a look at other games that we can Kitbash and create for? I'd love to hear your comments. Yeah. But that's not going to be next episode. Next episode, I need you guys. Now, I think that since the match play guide came out for the Old World, it's caused a lot of people to become a lot of people have become a bit narrative with the creation of something for their table. I'm talking about the baggage carts. We've seen so many fun creations, and the creations with a bit of storyline behind them. The people are using for that objective marker that needs to be placed on the table for some games, for some secondary points. Now, I've got my own. I've designed and Kitbash my own up, but I never want this channel just to be solely about me. So I want to see yours. If you can, use our social medias to send me a picture of your baggage train, your objective marker, with obviously your name, all your details, etc., and a little bit of maybe storyline or idea behind the way you'd set up the baggage train itself. Now, the next video will hopefully then be me looking at other people's creations, and we can celebrate community-wide how good these builds have been, and how people have really pushed the boat out in some sections to really have a good think about what the baggage train for their army would look like, and not just run a run-of-the-mill cart and horse, etc., because there's some really fun ideas that I've seen that I really want to be able to talk a little bit about and give a little bit of praise to. So if that's something you want to get involved with, show us over the images. Like I said, social media accounts would probably be the best way, and they're all linked below. Unless, of course, you want to jump in on the Patreon side of things and get access to Discord, which would probably be a bit more of a direct contact way between ourselves. But again, it's up to you. I'm not going to, hold you to task to do any of these things, but hopefully it's something that you want to get involved with. So good luck, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. See you later.